Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Lionshare Bookkeeping believes the key to generating wealth is understanding where it comes from and where it needs to go. They provide bookkeeping and financial coaching exclusively to real estate investors, focusing on cash flow, strategy, and action. Go to lionsharebookkeeping.com/apartments to connect with them now.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Jon Dwoskin. Thanks for being on the show, Jon.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Whitney. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, honored to have you on. It's interesting how we met, and I know you have so many skills that can help our listeners today as they are trying to grow their business, and we find ourselves often stuck right in different parts of our growth, or especially early on. But I know you can help us with that today. But a little about Jon: he's a business coach, author, speaker, and podcaster. He's one of few people that I know that are as crazy as I am to do a daily show. Just so you know, but he works with successful business people who are stuck and gets them unstuck by thinking big and growing their business big, very big, he says. So, Jon, welcome. Give us a little more about who you are, your background, but let's jump into some of the items, some of the things about how people are stuck that you're helping them with. Maybe you can give us even some examples, and let's talk through some of those things. I'm sure it's probably someplace I've been as well, or maybe currently I'm in some ways, and listeners are also.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I see is the philosophy of what got you here won't get you to where you want to go. You're right. The same level of consciousness that got you to where you are cannot get you to where you want to be. And I think some people get stuck in complacency, not necessarily always on purpose. I think during this past year with COVID, I think people got lost in a little bit of boredom. And they got lost a lot of bit in, that's not really a proper grammatic, sentence, but they did get lost a lot in lack of structure. There were so many people, it's so hard for people to structure themselves. One of the, main keynotes and trainings I do is on time management and teaching people how to become a master student of their calendar, how to allocate and, use their time and people and how to structure their days. And I think a lot of people just don't know how. I mean, if I, one of the most popular things I hear is, I don't have 5 minutes. I don't have 5 minutes. When I start working with people, when I start coaching people, my clients say, oh, I can't believe how much more time I have to do this. I have more time to do this, because we start looking at what they do in ways that they're just doing it because that's how they did it. But there's more effective ways to do things. And I think right now, if everyone kind of looks in the mirror, they'll say, yeah, I need more structure and a little bit more discipline, a little bit more routine, a little more effective routine in the morning, afternoon, a nighttime routine, using your calendar to ignite and accelerate that as well.
That's incredible. And I can relate to that so much. I know early on, and I'm sure you probably experienced this, Jon. I was working full-time, doing a daily podcast, taking investor calls, doing deals, while trying to be a full-time husband as well, and parent, all those things. And if it wasn't for the calendar and just really maximizing my time as much as possible, I just could not have kept up, barely kept up anyway at that time. Anyway, a lot's changed now, but yeah, could not agree more. Could you give a couple tips on structuring your day, thinking through that? I mean, because I've heard that too. I've said it, I don't have 5 minutes, all that stuff. But becoming a student of the calendar, what are one or two things that someone can do today to really think through, hey, am I focused on the high level tasks today? How do I make that 5 minutes?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing, which is so critical, is that everybody on a daily basis needs to know there are three critical, specific leading activities, and they need to be specific and they need to be measurable. And that's harder than it sounds, because people will put things down, but they're not specific, they're not detailed, they're not measurable. And so you got to be able to quantify what it is you're doing and what's a leading activity actually growing and accelerating the business versus a lagging activity. And so the leading activities are things that are building momentum, building your pipeline, building your relationships, building something that is going to lead to, whether it's a sale, a new relationship, a closing, in your case, in your listener's case, a deeper relationship with someone that, they can start investing with, or a broker that will start sourcing deals for them. I mean, all of that is really important. Next is really looking at your calendar. Most people are wired to look at their calendar in 30 or 60-minute chunks, when really you should be looking at your calendar and using it in 5-minute chunks, or 10-minute chunks, or 15-minute chunks, and color coding your calendar for money-making activities, right? The leading activities that are actually making you money, the B activities, the C activities, and the D activities. And so if you start color coding those, and you start thinking about 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute meetings, or even appointments with yourself, and being very specific in what those meetings are going to be in your calendar, and you take the thinking away. The story goes that people would ask Albert Einstein his phone number, and he would go to the phone book and look it up. And they would say, "Mr. Einstein, you're one of the smartest people in the world. You don't know your phone number?" And he would say, "I don't like to waste my brain power with information that's easily accessible." So the more you structure your calendar, the less energy and space you take it out of your brain. And so you have a place to put it. Those are a few things that I find are really, really critical.
That's incredible. The more you structure your calendar, the more you take it out of your brain. You're not having to spend time just thinking about it. It's kind of like keeping the notepad next to the bed, right? You think of something in the middle of the night, that you can write it down, then you can go back to sleep, as opposed to just hoping you remember it, right? I would say appointments are the same way, but I love the color coding things and thinking through the leading activities. I know I've had to do that in a big way, and it's like this constant battle, right? I mean, it just continues. It's like it never ends. I'm constantly thinking of ways to get more time back, and what's the most important places in my calendar to spend my time. It's difficult, very difficult to do that, But
you know what? On that note, Whitney, if you color code your calendar, right, and you realize that for every 4 minutes you save a day, that's 24 hours a year. And so if you color code your calendar, at the end of the week, you study the white space and the colored space. And so you study it and you say, okay, what is, how can I maneuver things around? I work with a lot of companies. I work with solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies and everybody in between. And one of the things that I'm a big advocate of are shorter meetings. And so I go into a lot of companies where it's just, we talked about complacency. They are just used to having hour meetings, 90-minute meetings. Well, a lot of those meetings, those hour meetings, can be 30 minutes. A lot of the 30-minute meetings can be 20 minutes. A lot of the one-on-one meetings that are an hour can be a half an hour. You start adding all those up and prepping for meetings more effectively, you across a company can save tens of thousands of hours, and then people have more time. And so it's really just looking at your company and every individual and the standards, and all of that is changing right now because of COVID, because we're in a virtual world, and that isn't changing.
Tell me, and I didn't even see this coming, but I think it's a great place to dive in just a little bit. Tell me about the structure of that meeting, going from an hour to 30 minutes. I do that as well. I have team meetings every week, and sometimes numerous times a week with, it could vary. Some are 30 minutes, but most are probably an hour with most team members, at least 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so to me, if this is the way you run an effective meeting, and there should be an agenda for every meeting. There should be intent and purpose for the meeting. It should be very clear. It should be sent out minimum 2 days prior to the meeting. There should be an email that says, "Hey, if you want anything on the agenda, let me know." You keep the agenda concise. You don't allow people to get into the weeds. Where meetings are not to report out. Meetings are to have your stuff filled in any type of shared file that you're doing. By the time you get to the meeting may be a short minute or two to recap, but people should be studying whatever they need to study to prepare for the meeting. So a culture of prepping for the meeting. But if everybody does what they're doing, and for an example, you put your information in a shared Excel spreadsheet, people can look at it in a USA Today glance and kind of understand what's going on. You then strategize. People bring their leading activities to the meeting. You strategize on how you can help them with future talking points, with next steps, how you can help them, where you can dive in. And then if people get in the weeds, you set up a separate follow-up 5 to 15-minute meeting, and you can time block the meetings, and you can also give the order of which people are speaking, anything to take away the shock value of and giving people time to prep their mindset for a meeting. I want to go into a meeting knowing that I'm prepared and I'm going to be the third person called. And even if I don't tell people what the order is, I, as the facilitator of that meeting, know the order I'm calling upon people. So I can set the stage and I can call on the first person and then say, okay, such and such, you'll go next, and just mentally prepare people for the meetings. So what the problem is, people come to meetings with no agendas, no idea what they're really going to talk about. There's that you get in the weeds, you're talking about content that is not relevant, and they're not effective. And so you waste people's time. And if you're a leader and you're doing that, it's very rare that your people are going to tell you that, because A, they're worried about getting fired or getting branded poorly. And B, you're the boss, they don't want to get fired. And C, a lot of the people like it because it's kind of free time for them to not have to really do their work, right? It's kind of like, space for them to say, yeah, okay, good. I can kind of, take a breather here. I'm not suggesting that people are lazy or anything of that nature, but it's kind of like, listen, I've been to plenty of meetings in my corporate world where I went to an 8-hour meeting that could have been done in 30 minutes. And, you're sitting there while people are reporting out for an hour and you're eighth in line, and you just kind of take that time to open up your notebook and brainstorm and zone out and, and kind of take a breather. So I get it.
I've been a part of those as well. It seems like, all day, or maybe even a 2-day meeting that could have been done in an hour or less.
Correct.
In corporate or government and places like that. But
sometimes those meetings are necessary to bring people together, and the culture and the, the collaboration and but yeah.
As the CEO, or as the person that specializing in a specific part of the business, who creates that agenda, and what are your thoughts about who's creating the agenda and who's sending that out? Walk us through that process a little bit, so the person listening can think through people on their team and how that functions.
Sure. Well, the leader of the meeting sends out the agenda, right? And so I'll give you an example. So I am one of the things I'm doing is, I have a daily podcast, and I just started 3 months ago because of COVID. I offer 90%. I offer so much content on my website. And so 90 people can get so much content. And then if they want direct access to me, they work with me, and I do one-on-one custom coaching. I was sharing, for solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies and everything in between. But then there are people that's out of their budget. So I started a group coaching model. Every Monday night, it's $50 a month, and it's live coaching, private Facebook group. It's great. Well, it's really taken off. People love the one-to-many group coaching. And so I'm starting 3 additional, launching in mid-April, 3 additional group coaching groups with partners in each of them. One is I have a partner named Simon Thomas, and we're focused on coaching realtors. One is with a guy named Jeff Sloan. We're working with brand new entrepreneurs. And one is with a guy named Randy Denha, and we're focused on attorneys. So there's these group coaching. So what I'm doing is, I bring it up because we're on a podcast now. The second and fourth Wednesday starting in April, we're doing a special edition podcast where the 4 of us are going to be basically doing a 30-minute show, talking about business, talking about the power of group coaching, right? So that's the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. So what I told them is, I'll take the lead, and on the Friday before each Wednesday, I will send out a rough agenda of what I think could be, who the leader of the conversation's going to be. I'll kind of create an order, and then we'll share notes. So the agenda can be done by Monday, Tuesday. We'll kind of go back and forth. So by the time we are on Wednesday, we understand the theme of what's going on, and I will kind of finalize it and distribute it and things of that nature, and creating the system. So when we get there, we understand exactly what the 30 minutes is going to entail, who's leading the conversation, the theme and the topic, and then we can kind of fall into the discussion. Otherwise, it would just be a little bit of mayhem. But that's what we're going to do. And so it's no different than any type of meeting. The leader sends out the agenda, asks for feedback, and that's who's responsible for putting it together. And then
that's great advice. For people talking in only 30 minutes, you would have to have a little bit of structure. You wouldn't get anything accomplished.
Right. Correct.
No doubt about it. So what about, maybe give us, before we have to move on to a few final questions, what's another way that you see people just getting stuck and they can't get unstuck?
A way that people get stuck is they don't have the level of awareness that they need to grow. And so you got to kind of look at where you are and say, okay, where am I going? Right. And a lot of times that bridge is very unclear. Right. So they don't know. And so they don't know how to get, they're just stuck. And again, whether it's me or somebody else, they need a coach, right? Most people don't invest in themselves. They'll say, well, I don't want to invest in that, or that's an expense, because they don't see the value in somebody accelerating their growth, right? And so that is one thing I think people get. I've had coaches my whole life. I'm 49. I'm a business coach. I have a business coach. I've had business coaches my entire life. And so to me, I credit my accelerated growth from not only my own discipline and love of learning and things of that nature, but my coaches helping, keeping me kind of moving forward. Hey, don't do this. Don't get distracted on this. Focus on this. Hey, you're really great at this and you don't realize it. Oh yeah, I am really great at that. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Oh, that is. Oh, I can monetize that. Da, 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 da. You see, it's kind of like, it's really looking in the mirror and saying, okay, what am I going to do? And if you're not going to invest in a coach, start doing something, get something online, start investing in learning, everyday learning.
So important, everyday learning, that consistency, right? Even the calendar stuff. All this, it's the consistency. It's the daily things. You even said break it down 5-minute increments, but investing in yourself every day. I could not agree more also about having a mentor, having a coach. I've had numerous as well. I have more than one right now, and hope I always do. You're always searching for that person that's ahead of you, right? Somebody that sees in, like you said, you don't have the awareness. And I think it's so helpful when you have somebody looking into your business that's kind of been in your shoes. And for me, there's been times where, the coach has said one sentence or a few words, and it's like
Correct.
A light bulb goes off, right? And it changes the whole trajectory of everything, and it's helped us to do big things.
Correct. Well, and that's the key, right? It's like that light bulb moment that goes off. Same thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I talk to my coach, he'll say one thing, and I'll say, that's it, right? That unlocks something within me because he knows me, and it's absolutely priceless. But I get that also in books that I read every day or podcasts that I listen to every day. I think you really got to commit to learning. That's the key. Read 5 pages every day, listen to a podcast 5 minutes every day. If that's too much, do 2 minutes every single day, read 1 page every single day, do something to me, I define thinking big as doing small things every day that compound to your big. And that's the key.
Why do people not invest in themselves? It seems, and I guess there's a time where maybe I felt the same way as far as hiring a coach. Is like, is this really worth it? Is this really, I can think years ago, it was a big mindset shift there. But what helps people take that final leap, you think, or somebody that's thinking right now, man, I don't want to pay somebody to, help be a coach. I can go figure this out myself.
Well, I think it's their mindset. Right. Like, people think that there's do-it-yourselfers, and then, they look at the cost and they say, oh, well, that's expensive. Right. And so, and they just don't see the quantitative value, or they're not ready to do the work. Having a coach, you got to be ready to do the work. It's not like you're going to, you can read a book and get a great idea. You can have a coach get a great idea, but if you don't execute, right? And so most people have a problem with follow-up and with execution. And sometimes people have, I think, a hard time saying, well, I know what to do. I just need to start doing it. Well, that's not always easy because you need accountability. You need consistency. You need somebody in your court, right? You need somebody on your side who's fully vested in you. Most people don't have that. I work with people who are really smart, really successful, but stuck. And they can surrender and be open to, my feedback. When I coach people, everything I do is custom. And so I am diving deeply into somebody's understanding of where they are. And then I can hear and see things that they can't. I can pull it right out and say, here's a plan. Here's your action plan. And I do it for them and with them at the same time. And it doesn't take me long to get there with them.
That's awesome. I love how you have to be ready to do the work when hiring a coach. I think that is so true. I've seen people that have been coached by the same people, my coaches as well, and that have been doing it a long time, but make no progress. Right. And it's sad. It's sad, at the same time. Right. But then you see the few that really put the time in and go big places, right? Go a lot further.
Right.
And so I think you just hit the nail on the head there. Jon, what are some daily habits that you're disciplined about that have helped you achieve success? I think it's interesting because you help so many other people with this as well. But what's the best use of your time every day or morning or habits, anything like that is like you are so disciplined about?
Yeah. So I woke up this morning. I have a virtual trainer. So I saw my virtual trainer so I woke up, meditated, did my virtual trainer from 6 to 6:30. Then I did these 10 energy moves that I do, kind of like Qigong-ish. Then I did Wim Hof breathing exercises. If you're familiar with him, he's amazing. And then I did about 10, 15 minutes of yoga. I did about 15 minutes on my rebounder, and then I have an infrared sauna, and I read while I'm kind of in the sauna, and that's kind of my morning routine, some variation of all of that type of thing, and that's kind of what gets me going, right? And that's why and then as I'm walking in here, I go and I shower, I get ready, and then I'm walking in here. I forgot it's garbage day, so I was, but and then I run out, take the garbage, and then and then I'm ready. I'm working by 8:30, and so that's my morning routine is really, really important for me that I get, and I'm typically listening to. I haven't yet this morning, but I'll listen to Up First, which is an NPR podcast that gives me all the news of the day. 5 Things by USA Today, and so I listen to it on time and a half. So in 10 minutes, I can kind of get up to date on what's going on in the news. While I'm working out, I'll kind of flip back and forth from CNN to Sports Center so I can kind of see what's going on in the world. So I've read, I've meditated, I've worked out. So by 8:30, I'm like ready to go. And then my night routine is I'd like to walk outside, kind of clear my head, and do a little bit of reading. I like to read at least 10 pages a day. So I'll either, finish up that or maybe read a little bit more. And I just kind of bookend my day with, I have a massage chair. So I'll usually do the massage chair at the end of the day, at the end of the night. And then that's kind of my bookend routines.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think, something I hear there is just structure, right? I mean, you structured that.
And I put it all in my calendar, and I write in a journal, not every day, but when I feel like it, I go in spurts, in the morning, but that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. I would say one thing that helped me so much in the morning too is putting timelines to exactly what you said. When I put it on the calendar, it's like, okay, even if I don't hit that time exactly, I know that I'm getting behind. It pushes me to even get out of bed on time, and because I know I have this much time to do these specific things. If you could say there's one thing that's contributed to your success, what would that be?
I would say one thing that's contributed to my success is self-discipline. And there's still things that I don't feel like I'm disciplined enough on. But the discipline of follow-up has always been number one for me. So, one of my things for my clients, what I guarantee, so I don't do any contracts with my clients. And because I consider myself a month-to-month investment, and my goal is to bring value. So I don't do contract. I work with successful people who are stuck, and I never want them stuck in a contract. But my guarantee is that I return every call, every text, every email every day by the end of the day. My clients know that if they need me, they call me. If they need me by a specific time, I can tell them. I don't answer calls when I'm on, meetings, but in between meetings, I'm always returning calls, texts, emails, and my clients always know day or night, weekends, they can always reach out to me, review an email. They need to fire somebody, hire somebody, have a tough conversation. Those 2 to 3, 4, 5 minute calls are quintessential. They are quintessential to, my relationship with my clients to always be there. And I'm not an attorney. It's part of the program. It's part of working with me. You don't get that in the groups. My group coaching is you can communicate with me through the Facebook group. Not that I don't. If somebody calls me, I of course talk to them. But the standard is, in the Facebook groups, we communicate in the groups. If you have a question, I say bring it to the group, and we'll do some live coaching on Monday nights at 4:30. But my clients that work with me one-on-one, I return every call, text, email, same day. So that insurance policy for them is key. And because I have no contracts, they're never locked in, but I always follow through. My follow through is impeccable.
That's incredible. I love that. This self-discipline, even that's your answer. I think I love talking about self-discipline and just working on it personally all the time. Can you give, we're running low on time, but anything that's helped you to just gain the high level of self-discipline?
When I was 18, my dad assigned me up for a Franklin Planner weekend time management course. So I'm going to be 49 this year. And what I learned in that course, over 30 years ago, shaped my whole perception of time management. And from that time, I started studying time management and realizing that I could get 3, 4, 5 years worth of stuff done in 1 year by just managing my time effectively. So I'm always kind of looking at my time. I mean, even for when I started out my podcast, I was doing certain things. I thought, wait, this is taking me only 5 minutes a day, but that's, taking me 35 minutes a week. And then I times out. I said, wait, I got to free that up. So I hire a virtual assistant to do it. Right. And so I'm always looking at my time, what it's worth, and what I want to do with my time. So I much rather spend time with my family and have Instacart go grocery shopping so my wife and I can be with the kids. Right. I'm always looking at things as a time standpoint. Right. Can I take 3 hours and go grocery shopping and then bring it home and doing this and da-da-da, or can I just Instacart it and pay a little bit extra? So I really understand what my time is worth. I value my time. I value my time with my family, my friends, and my alone time. And that's really, really important to me.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Mastering that time and being disciplined to do it. How do you like to give back?
So giving back has always been a big piece for me. I'm going to be 49. I've been on board of directors since I was, 22, 23 years old. I've always been on boards. I currently sit on the board of Hebrew Free Loans, where we give loans to people who are just in situations where they're stuck and they're interest free. And it's an amazing board. I'm very involved in an organization, Immerman Angels, a one-on-one cancer support group. I chair things. I could name a ton of things. I have boards and things I've been involved in, but it's really important for me to give back. If organizations call me, nonprofits, and want to work with me, I'll usually give them a discounted price to work with me because I want to help as many people as I can. And then I just give back in multiple ways that I can that are just, personal to me.
Awesome. Jon, it's been a pleasure to get to know you better and to have you on the show and just thinking through some major things that I think are instrumental to anyone in business, just on a daily basis, talking about specific and measurable things and a calendar and agendas for meetings and shortening those things and really diving into how you have done that and how you're helping others do it as well. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate, well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on the show. I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you for taking time. I know it's valuable. My cell phone is 248-535-7796. Anybody can call me or text me. Happy to talk about what I do. My website is Jon Dwoskin, Jon, D as in David, Woskin. From there, you can get to all my social platforms, all my content, all my blogs, all my Forbes, all my podcasts, all my daily tips. And my email is john@jondwoskin.com. And if you want to connect or go to my website, you can see what I do for coaching, my group, my solo, and, give me a buzz.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.